All right, let's get right into it. For the next few minutes, we're going to conduct what you might call a cinematic autopsy. The victim? The movies. And the cause of death? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. We're drawing on the arguments made in How History Works to investigate who exactly is responsible for what feels like the decline of a great art form. So the source material we're looking at, it really doesn't pull any punches. It kicks things off with this pretty bold statement. The argument here is that you're not just imagining it. Hollywood films have genuinely gotten worse. This isn't about you getting older or falling out of touch. Nope. This is our central crime, the whole reason we're doing this investigation. Which brings us to the big million-dollar question. If movies really are dying, who's the culprit? Who did it? Is it the directors, the actors, the studios? Or, and this is a tough one, is it us? Let's follow the evidence and line up the suspects, one by one. Every good investigation starts with the evidence at the scene of the crime, right? For us, that's what we're actually seeing or not seeing up on the screen. So our first stop is the world of special effects. They were supposed to make movies magical, but the source here argues they've come at a really steep price. I mean, just think about it. In the early days of film, you had pioneers like Buster Keaton literally risking their lives for a shot. You had these magnificent, handcrafted sets, like in Metropolis, that required genuine, outside-the-box genius. There was, as a source puts it, skin in the game. And you can feel that risk, that human touch, in every single frame. And you can really see this shift when you put two eras side by side. Remember the absolute awe of seeing the T-1000 in Terminator 2, that liquid metal walking through prison bars? It was pure, practical wizardry. You had absolutely no idea how they pulled it off. Now, compare that feeling to a modern CGI character like Groot. Sure, he might look more technically lifelike, but does he feel as real? The argument is that the magic has been swapped out for digital convenience. So, if we're gonna point fingers, who are the prime suspects for taking the special out of special effects? Well, the source calls out two key figures. First up, Peter Jackson, who proved with his massive CGI armies in Lord of the Rings that you could do it all cheaper and faster digitally. And then there's George Lucas, who gave us Jar Jar Binks, basically patient zero for the kind of motion capture characters that are everywhere now. Okay, we're not done with our investigation into the decline of craft. It's time to call our next witness to the stand. This time, we're looking at the actors themselves, because it's not just the effects that have changed, it's the whole art of performance. Has this ever happened to you? You're in a fancy movie theater, state-of-the-art sound system, watching a huge blockbuster like Oppenheimer, and you still can't make out half the dialogue? Well, good news, it's probably not your hearing. The bad news, according to our source, is that the problem is the actors. So how do we even get here? Well, you gotta look back. Early film acting came straight from the vaudeville stage tradition. You had to act big and be super clear, just so the people in the back row could hear you. But then the cameras got closer, and a new, more natural style took over, pioneered by guys like Marlon Brando. He was a notorious mumbler, but his subtle, realistic performances were completely mesmerizing. The problem is, a whole generation of actors copied the mumbling, but maybe forgot the disciplined craft that needs to go with it. And that brings us to the next big problem for actors. If video killed the radio star, then social media killed the movie star. That's a pretty heavy statement, right? The idea is that the mystique, that larger-than-life quality that made actors so captivating, has been systematically dismantled by the very platforms they now use to stay famous. I mean, when you see a huge A-lister like Reese Witherspoon making ice cream out of snow in her kitchen, it doesn't exactly make her an untouchable icon. It just kind of shatters the illusion. And what's worse, the game has totally changed. Sophie Turner has openly said she got roles over better actors simply because she had more social media followers. The focus has shifted from honing your craft to building your brand. Okay, so we've examined the evidence up on the screen, but now our investigation takes a turn. We need to look in the mirror because the next suspect on our list, well, it's us, the audience. Are we really just innocent bystanders in all of this, or are we accomplices? Think about this modern feedback loop we're all stuck in. A studio puts out a huge movie with a nostalgic cameo. We, the audience, go see it, film ourselves screaming in the theater, and post it online. Those reaction videos go viral, which is basically free marketing for the studio. And what message does that send them? Give us more of that. So originality gets pushed aside for safe, predictable nostalgia. You know, it wasn't always this way. Matt Damon once made a great point about the DVD market in the 80s and 90s. It was a massive financial safety net. A studio could take a chance on a weird, original movie, and even if it flopped at the box office, they knew they could make their money back through video rentals and sales. That safety net, it's gone. And our role in this might be even more direct, right down to the screens in our pockets. Because according to one pretty shocking statistic, over a third of streaming users now prefer to watch stuff on a tiny phone screen. When we treat movies like background noise or just something to scroll past, we send a really clear message to filmmakers. Don't bother creating a grand cinematic masterpiece. We're telling them we don't care. And all this brings us to our final and, let's be honest, most powerful suspect, the one who had the motive all along, the system itself. We're talking about money, power, and the whole Hollywood machine that's been churning since day one. Ever wonder why we eat something as loud and crunchy as popcorn in a dark, quiet theater? The source offers a simple, powerful answer: money. Movies first got popular at carnivals, where popcorn was the go-to snack. So right from the very beginning, the art of film was tied to a commercial business. It was never just a pure artistic experiment. But there was this brief, shining moment when it seemed like art was about to win. It was an era called New Hollywood. Back in the 60s and 70s, the old studios had no clue what young people wanted to see. So basically, in a moment of desperation, they handed the keys over to a new wave of risk-taking directors. For a little while, the artists were in charge. And the story of that era's rise and fall is like a classic tragedy. First, The Godfather came out and proved that a director's unique artistic vision could also be a massive blockbuster. But just a few years later, one film, Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate, was such a legendary financial disaster that it literally bankrupted its studio. The message to Hollywood was loud and clear. The artists can't be trusted. The studios snatched back control, and the era of risk-taking was pretty much over. And with the money men firmly back in the driver's seat, artistic vision was replaced by a whole new formula. Now it was all about what's trending, what's the current political mood. Marketing and social consensus became the main things driving which movies get made and how they're sold to us, a trend that social media has only kicked into overdrive. So, after reviewing all the evidence, we're left with this final, massive question. We've seen the decline of craft, we've seen our own role as accomplices, and we've seen the ultimate motive of money and power. Is this the end of the line? Or could we be on the verge of a new renaissance for film? The case for now remains open.